here we go. Okay, so the things that we're doing at G Adventures to ensure that you're able to travel safely, and we're working to make sure that we're mitigating the risks of transmission of COVID-19 while on our trips. So it does start with our chief experience officers. These are our local guides, and they've always been there to help you guys like get over the culture shock when you arrive in destination, set expectations, talk about cultural differences when you arrive in a different place. And now also we're just layering on this additional conversation around local health and safety requirements. And it's a lot of things that you will already understand and know from your day-to-day lives there in Canada. Washing hands, wearing masks on vehicles, and when physical distancing isn't an option, and also making sure that we are staying physically distanced when we're traveling. It's very important to us that we protect your health and safety, but it's also important to make sure that we're protecting the people in the places that we're visiting, these often rural and remote communities around the world, to ensure that we're not, that we're mitigating the spread of transmission. We have small groups at G, and so there is inherent less risk of a group of 8, 10, 12, maximum 16 people traveling through a destination than larger groups. And it does mean that our CEO is able to make sure that people are, remembering to wash our hands and remembering to do these different measures as we're going through. I'll give you a hint with this one. It's not Iceland. It's a place in the Southern Hemisphere in South America. We also work very closely with our hotel teams to make sure that they're implementing robust cleaning schedules in the hotels. And again, we're not having to reinvent the way that we run our types of trips, and that we use smaller, locally owned and operated hotels, that there is no elevator to the 20th floor on a G Adventures hotel. That more often than not, you're walking up a couple flights of steps to get to the second or potentially third floor of these locally owned, smaller boutique hotels that we work with around the world. And that when it comes to food, we've never overprescribed the number of meals that travelers are eating in a buffet style and being forced to eat together. And so with breakfasts, we're working with the hotels, we're working with our partners to make sure that you have go bags, so you can eat that breakfast before you leave in the morning, or can take it with you for the journey as you go. And that the CEOs, again, are there to help book space ahead, potentially in a private room, in a restaurant, and then also make great suggestions for dining options al fresco, or securing that space outside so our travelers can dine comfortably and stay well fed on our trips. So ultimately, we want to make sure that you guys know that you can travel with confidence with G Adventures, that we're operating trips into 2021, and that we've also launched this new collection of tours where we're able to dial these travel with confidence policies up to 11, so to speak. There's 46 different trips, a couple of them included in the Jane Goodall collection, where we reduced the group size to 12 from 16. So maximum group of 12. Again, a lot of our average group sizes were about that size prior to 2020. Private vehicles throughout, unless it's a plane. We're not our own charter company. But any other transportation in destination is done through private vehicles. You're not getting on trains, or you're not getting on public buses. That the My Own Room options for those Travel with Confidence Plus collection tours, if you'd like to travel solo, you want to go by yourself, it's 50% off for travel in 2021 with these trips for that My Own Room option. Before we get into kind of more about how we travel, what that looks like, and where you can travel to with G Adventures, I do want to focus on the why, the reason we exist as an organization. We are a Canadian company. We were founded by this guy. His name's Bruce. He grew up in Calgary. We are head office in Toronto. And when Bruce founded the company, he did so on this idea that travel and tourism can be a force for good. That just by going on vacation, you can have a positive impact around the world. That the travel industry takes some of the wealthiest travelers in the wealthiest countries in the world to visit the poorest travelers in the poorest countries in the world. So why can't more of the money that you invest in travel, why can't more of that stay in those local destinations and lead to positive outcomes for the people in those places? This idea that travel and travelers would save the world. And so there's a lot of ways we do this at G. In the background, it's under this umbrella of G for good. So, our Ripple score, the metric that you will see, the little number out of 100 you'll see on the vast majority of G Adventures trips, that shows the economic sustainability of that trip. How much of the money that you're spending is staying in that local destination. We have our responsible travel policies, as well as our Planeterra Foundation. A hint here, we'll be talking about this destination for number 5, where these elephants are. So the animal welfare policy, we had a complete audit of our trips a number of years ago to make sure that there's no way of interacting with wildlife on any G Adventures trip that can lead to any unintended negative consequences for those animals, no unsustainable ways of interacting with wildlife. So no tiger temples, no dolphin experiences, no shark baiting and diving on any G Adventures trip, no way of interacting with those animals that can lead to those potential negative consequences. We also work very closely with a number of indigenous peoples, rural and remote communities around the world. These ones in Southeast Asia, these remote communities where we do our hill tribe trekking in this destination. And the goal is to ensure that we are being proactive in starting conversations through our nonprofit Planeterra with indigenous people and cultures to make sure that they can tell their stories their way with our travelers, that this is a cultural exchange, that we're learning from them and they're also learning from us, you, the travelers, who can tell them more about your life in Canada and how things are here, so that it is a two-way exchange. And we take that responsibility extremely seriously and have a number of guidelines to make sure that we're engaging responsibly with these communities. And also our child welfare guidelines that were created in partnership with the Child Safe Movement. So again, ensuring that our operations and our travelers have no unintended negative consequences when it comes to interacting with youth, especially at-risk youth on any G Adventures trip around the world, particularly in this destination as well, where you'll see the traditional dress of the Quechua people who live in this sacred valley in this destination too. And so just this idea that through Planeterra, our nonprofit organization, we're able to be proactive in ensuring that we are a responsible travel organization and that our travelers are having a positive impact, and that we're thinking holistically about the not just the economic and the environmental, but also the social impacts that we have when we run trips in these destinations. So Planeterra is our nonprofit foundation. It was founded by Bruce in 2003. All of the operating costs of Planeterra are funded by G Adventures bottom line. So all the monies raised by this nonprofit go to support those projects, those 85 plus projects that we have around the world. I really highly recommend going to planeterra.org, learning about some of those projects, some of the impacts that those projects have on those local communities that allows them to tap into the tourist economy and provide alternative sources of revenue for them as communities and benefit from travel and tourism and some of the really unique experiences that you can have by going on a G Adventures trip. It really is a win-win when we have this partnership. And I believe that the reason why G Adventures has become the world's largest supplier of small group travel is because of this commitment that doing the right thing and doing the profitable thing, those aren't mutually exclusive ideals. You can have a for-profit company working in partnership with a non-profit company and working in tandem with local communities to make sure that everybody benefits from having travelers go and explore and see the world and uncover its wonders and exchange their culture and ideas and identity with people in different places as well. So that's a little bit on the why behind G. There's a few more destinations you can pick before we get to the Jane Goodall collection. You can try and guess where we're seeing. But I do want to touch on how we travel at G, this idea of small group trips that, you know, you're not on the bus, off the bus, on the bus, off the bus, that it's a small group of like-minded travelers traveling to a destination, exploring with their local guide. You're not waiting for 20 minutes for everybody to get off the vehicle. You're not filling up that historic cultural site or that restaurant by arriving. You know, you have the ability to travel at your own pace and get to know not just the destination, but also the people that you're traveling with. You know, the Aussies and the Kiwis and the Americans and the people from the Brits and the Danes and the Germans who are on this trip with you as well. And that you're going to meet people all across different age ranges. That we have a broad appeal to many different demographics of traveler. That yes, there's about a third of our travelers that are millennials, you know, 18 to 30 something travelers, but 2/3 of our travelers are, you know, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, increasingly in their 70s, who, you know, want to go and see the world in this way and have those culturally immersive experiences. And it's almost like a family environment on our trips where we have all those different demographics kind of present on the journeys. And as such, we don't break our trips down by destination. We do it by style of travel. So for those bargain backpackers, we've got those 18 to 30 something assisted backpacking trips. The vast majority of what we do is those classic itineraries, a balance of inclusions and free time to go and do your own thing. The National Geographic Journeys collaboration, where we have a little bit more comfortable accommodation and more educational content built into those trips. So the best source of more information on the travel style that will fit best for you is going to be by speaking to your Merit travel consultant, so they can let you know more about G Adventures and also about all the different ways you can see the world with us. And so far through this introduction, we've seen a large part of the world. So I'll give you a chance just to kind of tally up and guess those last few places on our list. So of course, the Bolivian salt flats, the beautiful mirages and different things you can do with photographs while you're there as far as perspective. Visiting Jordan and Jerash, the historic site just outside of Amman. Chile and the Torres del Paine, not Iceland or the Rockies of northern Canada, Western Canada. Greece and the island of Mykonos with its beautiful white buildings and bold colored paint. Tanzania, of course, and the Serengeti, where there are many wild packs of elephants. Thailand and the indigenous people living outside of Chiang Mai, the hill tribes of that region. Cacacoyo and the Quechua people of Peru, and of course Angkor Wat, very blurry and in the background of that shot that I think I had listed as number 9, but was in fact number 8. So that's a quick introduction to G Adventures, some of the destinations, and how we're working to mitigate the risk of COVID-19 and what it looks like to be on our trips. As we go through this presentation, if there are destinations that you want to know more about, now is a fantastic time to be talking to your travel consultant. We do have up to 21% and more off with this cyber sale that's started already as we get into this long weekend for Thanksgiving in the US. It's only $1 to secure your space on any of these trips at the moment, a $1 deposit, and we'll start getting into the Jane Goodall collection. So some of our most wildlife focused trips. And if you have any questions, I know I'm covering things at a good pace here. So if you've got any questions on the why, on Planeterra, on our responsible travel policies, on specific destinations, on anything that we're covering, please do jump into the chat box and kind of post your questions there, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end of this as well. The Jane Goodall collection at G, I mean, I've spoken to the fact that we work very hard to try and ensure that more of the money that you spend with us leads to positive outcomes. After enacting our animal welfare policy and auditing our entire supply chain, we had the real honor to work with Jane Goodall and her Roots and Shoots program and ensure that parts of the proceeds for 20 of the most wildlife focused trips that we have as an organization will go to support her foundation and the work that it does. So simply by taking a G Adventures trip, you're supporting our nonprofit Planeterra, but also by taking a Jane Goodall collection trip, you're supporting the really invaluable work that Jane Goodall and her Roots and Shoots program and the Jane Goodall Institute contributes to around the world. So we have these 20 trips. I would love the chance to go in depth and talk to you about all of them, but unfortunately, we don't have that much time today. So Margaret's had her own personal experiences in both Tanzania and Costa Rica, so we wanted to speak to those. And I've traveled to the Galapagos Islands myself relatively recently, 2 years ago with G Adventures. And so really just wanted to highlight just a few of the different trips that you can take with us. And that leads me to a little pause in my talking, and we can bring in Margaret so she can kind of tell us a bit more about the experiences that she had while visiting Tanzania with us.
All right, well, thank you so much, Gary. And I'm embarrassed to say I only visited 2 of those 8 destinations so far. So I've got a lot more to cover, which I'm excited to do. But first, I'd like to share my experience with my Tanzania trip. So it's a beautiful destination, especially for this time, I find, because of the wide open spaces. There's lots of animals, but not a lot of humans. So the perfect place to go and visit at this time, get away from those congested cities. So when you think of Africa or Tanzania in particular, you definitely always think about the wildlife and the animals, which you are right to do. You're going to see the big 5, the elephant, rhino, buffalo, leopard, and lion.
Mhm.
You said them all?
Yeah, you got it.
And you know, the G Adventures wildlife guides will do everything in their power to make sure you see all five. And they really, you know, it really enhances your trip when you have these proper wildlife spotters. I mean, they will see an animal in a tree, like a leopard resting in a tree, from their moving vehicle, and take us about 5 minutes with them pointing at it for us to spot it. So it's really important to have these professionals guide you through on the safaris, and they will enhance your trip. But one thing that really surprised me was the interactions with the local people when it came to my Tanzania trip. So being able to visit the Maasai tribe and learning their way of life and their different customs was something that really surprised me, and how much I enjoyed it. So you see the Maasai tribes, and you also get to do a walk through the village, and you get to see, you know, children playing in the schoolyard. You get to see different places of worship. And like Gary said, when you're interacting, it's a two-way street. So they're super happy to see us. They're welcoming us with a big smile. You don't feel as though you're intruding in on them. And you know, you get to just have this wonderful home cooked meal that they provided in that slide. And woman, she's currently making banana beer, which unfortunately sounded better than it tasted, but always good to try the local delicacies. And it was really just fun being able to sit back and enjoy a delicious meal with these people. You also get to pass by different art stations. So you get to see these beautiful paintings. You get to talk directly with the artists. And you get to see these wood carvings, which I still have a couple at my house that I love showing off. And be able to see the artists at work just gives you so much more of a memory when you look at that piece of artwork, and people kind of ask you where you got it, and you can say, oh, I got it directly from the artist, you know, and you can share your story. It just is that much more memorable for you. And it also benefits them directly, so you're not going through a third-party vendor. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. So definitely like a surprise that I had in meeting the locals and seeing their way of life. And just wanted to give you guys an idea of the style of accommodations that I had on my trip. So there is different levels. So you can do lodges, you can do this camping style, or participation camping. So this style that I was on, they set up the tents for you. They provide you these mattresses, these beddings. They prepare all of your food. You do not lift a finger. So if you've ever camped by yourself, you realize that this is very luxurious feeling. And the food was fantastic. In the evenings, we would sit around bonfire, share stories, play some games. And another benefit of this camping style is that you were right in the park. So when you get up and do your morning game drives, you were get in the vehicle and hit the road running. Whereas the lodges are very nice, and I definitely recommend them, but you do have to drive a little bit further into the park to start your safari drive. So if you have an adventurous side and you don't mind sleeping on the ground for a few nights, I highly recommend this style.
And yeah, I mean, so we do, and that's where we come into the different travel styles, and where talking to a travel consultant can really help. Because yes, for the classic trip, some of them will be, you know, hotels, but in Africa in particular, often we do build in this camping style because of all the benefits that Margaret had spoken to. But for those travelers who do want to stay in lodges, we do have, as part of the Jane Goodall collection as well, the National Geographic version of this travel style. So it's dependent on your personal desire and how you want to see the world. And I think this particular trip in Tanzania, or these trips, is a great illustration of the differences between a National Geographic journeys and a classic style trip, where we might build in some camping to it as well, because of the experiences that you get when you get to be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll keep going and talk about Costa Rica as well, a place a little bit closer to home, where, you know, travelers can, I mean, the Costa Rica adventure is one of our plus collection trips. So maximum group size of 12 right now when you're on that collection, and just this chance to really go through and explore more of Costa Rica. It's a destination that, yeah, there's everything isn't just 2 hours from the resort. And so the chance to really move through that destination, experience the different climatic zones and the different biodiversity is something that a small group adventure trip like this really allows you to, again, go meet the people, learn about their way of life. This is Mi Cafecito. It's one of our Planeterra supported projects just outside of San Jose, where you get to go and learn about the agricultural process of farming coffee. And it's one of the real success stories of Planeterra, where the communities that make up this this program saw a tripling of revenues after the first year of operating and working with G Adventures to kind of have this learning experience for our travelers. So it is a win-win. We get to go and learn about coffee manufacture in one of the most famous regions for growing coffee, but the local people are able to see a second source of income for those bad years when coffee crops are down or when markets are low. And I think it speaks more to the coffee market than to anything else that they were able to supplement their income so much by starting to build these experiences so our travelers could learn about what it looks like to grow coffee in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's right. And this is another kind of hands-on experience that I got to participate in. We visited a homestay and we got taught how to make these corn tortillas. Sometimes, they worked out, sometimes they didn't, but just that bonding experience that you have with your group. So G Adventures is really good at kind of getting you to have these tactile interactions and do these fun activities where you get to kind of just have fun with your group members and learn about things and maybe, laugh about it later on in the evening together.
And I love having these personal stories, Margaret, because so often I'll talk about, cultural immersion and, cultural exchange. And it's like, well, this is what that looks like, right? Learning from the people there about how to make something and then being able to take that recipe back with you to Canada and continue to enjoy corn tortillas when you're back home with that authentic local taste. But then also, you're there for the scenery, you're there for the wildlife, to go to Arenal National Park, to bathe in the hot springs of the region. So often with G Adventures, because we have adventure in the title, I mean, adventure is what it means to you. And it doesn't necessarily mean having a backpack and hiking up a mountain or abseiling into, or rock climbing or anything, right? You can go and you can have these experiences and, enjoy a little bit of time to relax while you're there as well. This is the Jane Goodall collection. All of these trips will have a massive wildlife focused component to them. Learning about conservation and the programs that are happening all over the world to help ensure that we're able to live in harmony with the animal world. And I know you've got some pictures and some stories yourself, Margaret, of your time in Costa Rica as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not see sloths in Costa Rica, which was amazing. Like you would see them just driving down the highway. And luckily the local tour leaders know how obsessed everyone is with sloths. So they'd pull over the vehicle as long as everybody was okay with it. And we'd get out and take a million pictures of our sloths. Sloths for them is probably like squirrels for us. So they're probably like, oh my God, get people. But they're fascinating creatures. You could just watch them for about an hour or so. And there's just so much diversity. I don't want to scare anybody with my tarantula photo. So this is, you don't just see them out and about everywhere. So this was actually, we were on our nature walk with our guide, and he brought out the tarantulas for us. So they only come out if they sense there's food, and he made a little bit of a ruffling in the leaves with a stick, and so that made the tarantula think that there was food there. So it kind of came out. That was the only way that he would have entice the tarantula to come out and see us. So it's not something you're just going to see on your day-to-day walk in the woods. It is something that you kind of need to have a specialist guide to help you have that cool photo op. And this is in Monteverde. It was my favorite place in Costa Rica. This is the cloud forest, and it is just so enchanting. I could have stayed like a whole week here. And again, there's an included guided walk with G Adventures, and at pretty much every step he would stop us and point out something for us to look at. So it was a huge benefit to be on a guided tour there, because we would have just enjoyed the walk, but being able to have somebody to stop and point out all of the different things that we would have definitely missed on our own was a very amazing experience.
And it is a long journey, the opportunity, or 8-day journey, and you're spending time in Arenal, you're spending time at Monteverde learning about the fauna and flora there, but also there is beach time on this trip as well. Costa Rica does really have something for everybody. Time to go to the coast in the San Antonio Manuel National Park. It's the bottom left of that diamond we saw at the start of the map there, and a time to just relax and enjoy the final few days of your trip as well.
Absolutely. We definitely were enjoying our time, as you can see by our excited posing. But yeah, Manuel Antonio is just absolutely gorgeous. Again, lots of nature walks too, if you're not a beach person, which is crazy if you're not, but I understand they exist. You can go and you can do some hikes, or you can just relax and soak up the ocean waves and just kind of reflect on the amazing trip that you just had. So G Adventures, I always find when possible, they'll always kind of end on a relaxing note.
Yeah. And it does transfer perfectly for those beach lovers and people who love the water. I really wanted to highlight the Galapagos Islands as well, just as one of those places that, if we're talking about wildlife focused trips, Africa, the Serengeti, these places absolutely come top of mind. Places closer to home like Costa Rica and the amazing work they're doing with conservation and wildlife preservation there. But then also, to be able to go to see what Darwin saw, to learn about the biodiversity of the Enchanted Isles. And, there really is no bad time of year to go to the Galapagos Islands. It is stuffed full of wildlife all of the time. Yes, there are migratory species that come through. If you want to see certain types of shark or certain types of bird, then there are those that will travel through at certain times of year. This is a fantastic graphic that's available through your travel consultant at Merit. You can send this to you just so you have a bit of a breakdown on water temperatures and things like that. But really, no matter what time of year you go, you're going to be able to get into the water and enjoy the wildlife and the animals. The blue-footed boobies are there all year, the frigate birds, the tortoises. There's a lot of wildlife that's there year-round. We do have our brand new vessel, the Reina Silver Voyager. It's 16-passenger catamaran, and it just got launched over the summer, so it's freshly built. And these are 10-day journeys in and out of Quito. So with a lot of our G Adventures trips, we start in Quito, so you get yourself to Quito, we'll get you into the islands, and then you can go and travel by vessel through this region. And being on a catamaran, it is just a little bit more stable. We have 3 different vessels that tour through these islands. What I really love about the Western Central Islands on the Reina is that you go to the western part of Isabella and the northern part of Isabella and Fernandina, and these are the most recent islands in the geological trail, or the formation of the islands. And there's a lot of wildlife there that is endemic to those places, and you really don't see anywhere else. And so it's fantastic to kind of get even off the beaten path in the islands. And this is, of course, why you're there, right? You can't move for sea lions, both in the water and, of course, where they love to be on the beach too. And as much as the boat is beautiful and the different vessels we have, amazing food served on board, right? Fresh coffee, which is also fantastic, and a wonderful crew. The reason why you are there is to learn and see these animals and experience the unique nature of wildlife in the Galapagos, where they just really don't care that you're there, and are happy to do their own thing. To learn about, the biodiversity, both within the water and outside of it. But this new vessel is brand new. It is extremely comfortable. And so different ways for different travelers to go and experience these islands. And again, a small ship, maximum of 16 passengers, lots of space for people to kind of, to hang out. Also external space. But, intrinsically a little bit lower risk on a vessel of 16 passengers compared to a vessel of 60 or 600 or 6,000 people. And so a different type of experience as well, to be able to be with that small group of people and jump in the water and share those stories and those experiences of the day. And as much as you are in the water very frequently, getting to know the animals in there, and I've had stories of people learning how to swim while they're in the Galapagos with our our CEOs, because they didn't want to miss out on that part. And the waves tend to be, the water's very, very placid there most of the time. There is also a lot of time on the lands to learn about the geological creation of these islands, to learn about the structure and how that's impacted and influenced the biodiversity. And we do have land-based trips as well. So often when we're talking about the Galapagos, we're thinking about these vessels that we have, but you do have the chance to stay on the islands themselves, stay in a hotel versus being in your floating hotel. Gives you a little bit more opportunity to interact with the local people, while still moving from island to island by jet boat, basically, to get from place to place. And we do have our Planeterra supported projects on Floriana Island, where you have the chance to go up to the highlands of Floriana, a place really not visited by many travelers to the region, to learn about the unique cactuses and the unique flora and fauna there, but also to learn about what life is like for the 150 something inhabitants that live there, and how by working with Planeterra and simply by going and staying in that community, you're helping to support them and ensure that they don't have to go to the mainland for work or travel to different islands, that they can benefit from travel and tourism simply by showing people their way of life on Floriana. So land trips there as well. And so, it was a quick whistle stop tour around some of these destinations. We wanted to make sure we've got time for questions at the end. And also that you guys know that, you can do your own private groups with G Adventures as well. So if any of these destinations you've thought about, but you're thinking, hey, I want to travel with my family, I want to travel with my bubble, right? The people that you know and love that maybe you haven't had the chance to see as much of this year as we would all really like, that chance to book together onto a trip. You need 8 people to get the group size for your own Book Your Bubble trip, your own private CEO, your private guide to take you through up to 80 of the different itineraries that we have as a company, including some of these Nat Geo or these Jane Goodall collection trips as well. And when you do so, when we do have promotions in the market, like the current cyber sale, everybody booking onto that Book Your Bubble trip will be able to take advantage of that promotion. And then if you're the person who's doing the work to get the family members to say yes, then the 8th traveler does get 50% off the price as well. And if there's 12 of you going, then that 12th person goes for free. So that ability to build in some of the price savings that we see right now in the market into when you're doing your own private group, which historically we haven't had the opportunity to do. And this is one of those cases where, again, I can't underestimate the importance and the power of working with a local travel consultant, speaking to your Merit agent so that they can lead you through the different styles of travel, what makes G Adventures different, some of the unique things that we build into our itineraries, what it's like to be part of a group of 8 or 10 or 12 instead of a larger group, the unique styles of travel that we have so that you can go and see the world the way that you want to. And of course, I'll let you know about the cyber sale, the fact that we've got, promotions on the vast majority of these trips, and that if you're looking to book between now and the end of the month for travel pretty much any time next year, then you're going to be able to, see the added value. And so for us, when it comes to inspiring people and rekindling that intent to go and see the world and have that positive impact, it's about 3 major core focuses: safety, right, which I started with, this idea that you can travel safely, and that small groups were able to help mitigate the risk of transmission, that there's flexibility, that we have a book with confidence promotions where you can ensure that, if you're picking those dates for next year and for any reason you want to change, you have the opportunity to do so. And finally, that we've got these cyber sales so that you can make sure that you're getting the best value for travel in 2021 as well. And of course, as always, that is what your local travel agent is for. I don't cut my own hair. I don't do my own taxes. There are people who know how to do that better than me. And so they're there to help support you. And we spoke about insurance when it comes to booking flights with all of the new and ever-changing now regulations and entry requirements into destinations. It never costs more to book with a travel agent than to book directly with G. And there really is a lot of value that they can bring to that process. So I really want to thank Merit for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all, and really want to thank Margaret for injecting her personal experiences into this as well, this conversation. And if there are any questions from the audience, then we're here to answer them now.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to read off the questions that have come in so far. The only one that I've seen, I think we have 2 so far. So the first one, someone did ask about single supplements and roommate sharing, and Darren actually did pipe up and answer her question quite well. He just said if you can You can opt to share a room with the same gender traveler if you're solo. And then if there isn't another solo same gender traveler, you would get your own room for free by default. Darren says he always travels solo with G and he has an amazing time. But Gary, I just wanted to give you an opportunity if there's anything additional you wanted to speak to about that.
Yeah, no, Darren's absolutely right that we do historically, we pair travelers, solo travelers with somebody who's potentially literally in the same boat as in there's another solo traveler on that trip, you're the same gender. So it's based on that dual occupancy. If there's an odd number of people on the trip, you're the only solo female or male traveler, then you get your own room. Or if you want to ensure, because we can't guarantee it, if you're just booking on by yourself, if you want to ensure that you have your own room, then yes, you can pay a single supplement. For the Travel with Confidence Plus collection trips, it's 50% off for travel next year on those 46 trips. For the cyber sale right now, it's 21% off my own room for all of our other itineraries. You can see a lot of 21s with the promo. It's 21% off trips in 2021 and 21% off your my own room as well. So yes.
Great. Thank you. Another question we have here is, how are you addressing international travel restrictions such as non-essential travel, planes to destinations, and 14-day quarantines?
So as a travel operator in destination, really, we can only control what we control and operate. And so, yeah, we're relying on the airlines and on governments to ensure that, that as soon as it's safe to travel, we'll be operating our tours. With quarantines, there are many travelers who are, okay to come back to Canada. We still have our 2-week quarantine in place. And so, able to make sure that you're quarantining when you get back. For an increasing number of destinations, there isn't necessarily requirements for quarantine when you arrive. Costa Rica is one of those. All we can do is make recommendations. We don't have the power to set restrictions. And so that's why we highly recommend travelers get those negative PCR tests. What we can do is make sure that we're having these policies in place around physical distancing, around mask wearing, where physical distancing isn't where it isn't able to be done, and making sure that people are following proper hand hygiene. So it's all the things that we do individually at home ourselves to make sure that we're not at risk of transmission. We will build those into our trips, but yeah, we are obviously working. We rely on governments to ensure that their border restrictions are at a level commensurate with the potential for community spread in their countries.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we have right now, but we'll give a couple more minutes just in case anyone has anything last that they wanna chime in with before we finish for the day. In case anyone is wondering how to ask a question, there is a little chat button at the bottom. If you just kind of hover at the bottom of your screen, you'll see it. You can click on that and then type in your question there, just in case you needed to know. And we'll just give you a couple more minutes, but then otherwise, so $1 deposit, when is the remainder due?
The remainder would be due January the 31st. So it's a $1 deposit and you can hold your space. And then by the end of January, it's the rest of the lifetime deposit. So that would be, it's an extra $349 because the lifetime deposit is $350. And with those lifetime deposits, the clue is in the title, they are good for life. So if you decide to cancel your journey more than 60 days out, so prior to final payment, then the lifetime deposit is non-refundable, but it is 100% transferable and you never lose it because it is good for life. So, yeah, it's this chance to hold that space, and then the remainder is due at the end of January prior to final payment at 60 days.
Great, thank you so much. So again, that is our last question right now, but we'll just give another minute or two in case anyone's got anything at the very last minute. Okay, I think we're good. So yeah, if anyone does have any further questions, though, you can get in touch directly with your travel consultant at Merit. And thank you so much to Gary and to Margaret. You guys have been great today. We really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone else who joined from all over Canada and maybe even further afield.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was wonderful to
Thanks,
talk
everybody.
again.